So welcome everybody who's here. We might have some new folks joining us as we go forward. I'm Amanda Chase and I work for the organization Advanced Vermont. And today I have a trusty sidekick behind the scenes, Jessica, who's going to be managing the chat and who will also jump in during the presentation. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Jessica Smith and I work at VSAC for the Gear Up grant. And my job is to help students who are part of Gear Up transition from high school to their after high school plans. And so I'm really excited to see Amanda's presentation and hear your questions once she gets going. So I will be here if you have any questions or need anything, you can just put it in the chat.
Thanks. So today I'm going to be giving everybody an inside scoop on the many different paths that you can take to complete education and training after high school. And I have a spoiler alert here that it's not just college or bust. There are a lot of different valuable options out there, and I'm going to talk through some of those. A few housekeeping items before we get started. So we encourage you to use the chat or the Q&A for questions throughout the presentation. Please feel free to jump in. I'd love to just hear what you're thinking as it comes up, and we can use some examples here and check out particular career areas or education credentials that you're interested in and use that as kind of a live demo. And the session is being recorded. And so today we're going to be looking at the different education and training paths that can help you achieve your career goals, and whether it's a college degree or on-the-job training, certificate programs, or some other credential. We're going to talk about ways to level up your career so that you can access more job opportunities and better pay and a fulfilling job. So to jump in here and frame things, I want to start by saying that you are a part of something big right now. The state of Vermont has set a goal that by the year 2025, 70% of Vermont workers will have some sort of education or training that brings value to them in their careers. And this isn't a random number. This is based on the needs of employers in our state. And simply put, they need skills that are developed only if you continue your learning after high school. So as you consider your next steps after high school, consider that you are going to enter Vermont's workforce, and you'll be powering our state and our economy, and your success is our collective success, and we really need you jumping in there too. So we just spoke about why in Vermont education and training is so important, but thinking also we want to emphasize why this is so important for you as an individual. When you invest in yourself, you're also investing in your dreams and your future, and you can define your own success. And I do like this little quote here: define your success on your own terms, achieve it by your own rules, and build a life you're proud to live. There's no right way to do this. There's a lot of noise out there. You may have a parent or a grandparent or a teacher or a mentor telling you who they think you should be or what you should do after high school, and they may be right and they may not be. There are a lot of different things to explore, and we'll talk about how to do that exploration today. The bottom line is that in order to be successful, you do have to buy into that path. You have to buy into your future, and you have to take charge and do your own research and ask questions of yourself and others and put yourself out there. So today is all about how you can do that and how you can take ownership of that process. So the good news is that you have access to a lot of different types of education and training in terms of the steps of what comes next. Once you have a high school diploma or a GED in hand, you can explore your options and see which education and training pathway is a good fit for you. We're talking about credentials here, and credentials can be earned through technical centers, through colleges, universities, training centers, and even through online programs. So if you're a high school student or an adult looking to technical education to earn certification or licensure, you can consider regional technical centers near you. And Vermont's colleges and universities offer certificates and 2-year, 4-year, and grad degrees. And we have all the links to these on our site, MyFutureVT.org, which we'll be diving into in just a minute. There are a lot of different paths to reach your goals. And I don't need you to memorize this particular graphic here, but I just wanted to illustrate that there are a lot of windy ways to do this. You might start off in, for instance, career and tech education, and then go on to work in an apprenticeship, and then continue in your career, and then pursue a certificate, and then go back to working. You can step in and out and in and out, and eventually building those skills so that you can earn more and find more job opportunities and invest in yourself here. So there's no one right way to do this. And you have a lot of different options here, and they vary in terms of how much they cost and how long they take. So we're going to dive in and look at a few of those options and break them down. So to start with here, we have a certificate. And a certificate is a great way to show employers that you have a strong foundation to start in a new career or industry. A certificate can show that you have knowledge about a specific subject in an industry that you already work in, and it can show that you are extra valuable as an employee. You don't have to take general education courses for a certificate, so that means that your training is totally going to be focused on the skills that you need. It's also shorter and more affordable. So the experience you gain in a certificate program can help you earn a degree or other credential faster if you choose to continue your training after that. And this is typically takes a few months to 2 years, it ranges, and it's one of the more affordable options. Next is a registered apprenticeship. And those prepare people for a career through on-the-job training plus related classroom instruction. And the nice part of this is that you're paid for the work you do while being trained on the job. Many people begin their apprenticeships with little or no experience in that career. Apprentices start as entry-level workers who learn on the job from someone who's worked in the field for many years. So you're working right alongside an expert. And your employer makes sure that you have all the skills necessary to become licensed in that profession when your apprenticeship is finished. Apprenticeships are available in many different careers and industries. You might hear about things like a plumbing apprenticeship or an electrician apprenticeship, and those can take up to a year or two, and you get paid for the work. Next, we've got an associate degree. So you can get a degree that focuses on building skills and knowledge for a specific job or career. And many associate degree programs can be flexible, which makes it easier to continue to work or raise kids or meet other life demands while you're earning a degree at the same time. Full-time students can take 4 or 5 classes per semester in order to graduate in 2 years, and most of these classes focus on your area of study. Associate degrees cost less than a bachelor's degree because you spend fewer hours in class. And an associate degree shows an employer that you have the foundation to launch a career and build on your experience. It also shows a 4-year college that you're ready to take on a bachelor's degree if you choose to continue your education later. An associate degree usually takes about 2 years to complete and is about a moderate expense in terms of all of the different options out there. And then we have a bachelor's degree. And so that's often when you hear about a college degree, it's a 4-year bachelor's degree that we're talking about. And that sets a student up with many academic and career options and prepares them for a wide range of jobs. It can also lead to more advanced degrees like a master's degree. Students in bachelor's degrees take 4 to 5 classes a semester and to graduate in 4 years. These classes are a combination of general education courses and classes specific to your area of study. That's usually a college major. And the variety of courses builds your knowledge and experience in multiple areas and helps prepare you for a career. And a bachelor's degree shows an employer that you have a wide range of skills. And colleges also offer a lot of different options in terms of student groups, internships, networks that connect you to people, places, and opportunities that can help you meet your goals. And a bachelor's degree typically takes 4 years and is one of the more expensive options that I'm talking about today. Although I should mention, we are going to talk also about financial aid and other ways to cover these costs. And so in the scheme of things, it may be one of the ones with a higher sticker price, but there are a lot of ways to cover those costs as well. I also just want to mention that you don't have to choose one of these options, and credentials are often stackable, which means that they're kind of like educational building blocks. And each block is useful on its own, but when they're stacked together, you can build something even better. And so the exciting part is that there are endless ways to make the different blocks stack together. So I have two different graphics here. The one on the left shows building building a breadth of knowledge, and so a certification and some sort of other credential in different areas show that you have a breadth of experience and skills. You can also stack things, we call it vertical stacking, where you can build from a high school diploma, add a certificate, and then a degree all in the same field to show a lot of depth in one area. So if you can think about a career, if you think about your career, you may have heard that the best type of education after high school is a traditional 4-year college degree, which is true for some people, but not for everyone. And stackable credentials allow you to take your education and training in pieces instead of tackling it all at once. And often they're shorter programs that are more affordable, so it might be a good option. You can, so again, these either build upon each other or they complement each other. I like this graphic that just popped up. A friend of mine posted this the other day, and up top, it's what people think a career path looks like, that linear kind of step A, B, C, D, and then really what it can actually look like, which is, graduating from high school, working a job, and, this particular person was laid off and stepped out of the workforce and back into the workforce. So you don't, it's not just one linear path. You have a lot of options. I also wanted to illustrate here another way paths can be windy in this particular person who stacked credentials. And so now more and more people are continuing to build these credentials throughout their careers. So, sorry, let me see here. I'm trying to read my notes and Zoom got right in the way here. Sorry. So we have in this situation somebody named Finley who works in computer science and who wants to be a computer developer. And they started with a computer science certification and then earned a bachelor's degree. And they got 2 other certificates along the way to add skills and resume value. So we call this stacking credentials, as I mentioned before. So now I'm going to show you our website that allows you to do a lot of this research, which is called MyFutureVT.org. And we put this website together to pull all the information into one place. This has information on career opportunities, education pathways, and resources to help you in your research. And so we hope that this will help Vermonters pursue and attain these different credentials to enter a stable and well-paying career. And this is, and I'm looking in the side here, I just noticed the chat, which I hope wasn't blocking everybody the whole time. So if anybody wants to follow along on myfuturevt.org as I'm exploring here, this is definitely one of those hands-on, multitasking kind of things. You're welcome to follow alongside me here. I am going over, so this is myfuturevt.org. And let's see here. So again, this is our one-stop shop resource that has a lot of different information to explore here. So I'm going to show you a few different things. We have our information here divided up into 3 different buckets. We have a career section, education and training, and then support and resources in the third. And I'm going to go through the different things we have here. So first off, if you're trying to figure out where to start, this page is a great first step. So click Explore Careers and Get Started. And this is a great overview of how to use this site. We have information on our job search database, which I'll show you in a minute, and resources for finding a job, exploring different paths, and discovering your strengths and interests. One great way to get started on this, if you're thinking like all the options in the world and you don't know where to start, I really like these different career interest assessments and personality tests. I think they're a fun way to start this exploration process. These link out to 2 different assessments that each take about 10 or 15 minutes, but they give you information on your interest areas. And you can plug that information back into our career search tool to do a search for positions that are a match for your skills and your interests. So let me just show you here. Go to our page on career interest quizzes. This gives you a quick overview of that. So this links out to a quick quiz on your interest area, and there are these 6 different types of interest areas here. So you may take this assessment and it might say, Jessica, you are a great fit with the creating and artistic interest area. And then when you go on our career search, so if you click at the top, explore careers, search careers, this is our database of different career options, all the different high pay and high demand careers within the state of Vermont. There are a ton of ways to filter this, which I find really helpful. You can look things up by salary, the number of openings in the state of Vermont, the skills required for a particular job, the education that you might need for that particular job, and these interest areas. So I mentioned taking that assessment. And and let's say in this example that Jessica, her interest area was creative and artistic, I can click that and see the different job options that match up here with your particular interest area. I'm also just going to show you a little bit more information about a particular career path and all the information that this site has. So if we want to learn more about the accountant and auditor career path, I can click learn more about the job. And this is going to give me an overview of what does it really mean to be an accountant and an auditor? How much do they get paid? How many openings are in the state right now? The different skills required for that job. And then the level of education required for that particular career. And what I like about this too is if you keep scrolling down, it will show you the different related programs within the state of Vermont. So I can see the different, for instance, I could take a look at the Bachelor's Degree in Accounting at Castleton, all of these different programs here. And we'll explore more of the education options in just a minute. If anybody wants to look into anything particular, feel free to drop a note in the chat and we can use you as our demo as I'm exploring this. I'm going to go back to our Get Started page for just a quick moment to show you a few more things we have on here. So again, I mentioned searching high pay, high demand jobs. If you're interested in finding a job, an internship, a part-time job, we also have great information here about popular job boards in the state of Vermont and helpful tips to put together a job application. So this is an overview of what is a resume? How do you put one together? What do you include in this document? We also have information about cover letters, like, what is this? How do I even begin to write one? And interviews, how to get ready for an interview, the research, the questions that you might ask the interviewer at the end of an interview. So a lot of great information here. We also have these specific job boards if you want to explore real career options that are out there and currently available. So specific ones in food systems, renewable energy, socially responsible businesses. I also want to emphasize the importance of exploring the different paths that are out there. I think one of the best things that you can do as a high school student, and then after high school, a lot of times too, is take time to do some exploration. And some ways that you can do that are through informational interviews and job shadows. An informational interview is when you take time, you contact someone who is in a job that you were interested in. So let's say, I'm using the example from before, if you're interested in graphic design, you can do some research and find someone who is in the field of graphic design, and then you get to interview them. You can sit down with them and ask questions about, what is this really like to be a graphic designer? What are your hours? Do you go to work in person? Do you have colleagues? What are your favorite things about this job? And what are your least favorite things about this job? What kind of education and experience did you need to get into this job? But it can help you to learn a lot more about the field and to meet someone who's actually doing it. Similarly, job shadows are another way that you can do this kind of exploration. And that is usually a 1 or 2 day experience where, again, you contact someone in the field and you get to basically follow them for the day and learn all about what they do. And you might get to step in on some of the meetings they have, see what kinds of projects they're working on, and get to meet other people in that field. So we've got great information here on how to set up those experiences if that's something you're interested in doing. We even have information on a sample outreach email and how to ask for this kind of experience. There's great information on here too about internships, returnships, and entry-level positions. An internship is a great way for you to explore a career in a short-term way. It's often a single semester long. And that allows you to try things out, to build your skills, and just to learn more about the field. So there's great information here about that as well. And some external resources on internships that you could explore. I'm going to scroll back up to the top here. So we were just in this first section here, explore careers. Now I'm going to jump into our second kind of category or bucket of finding education and training. So again, we've got a great overview of education and training information on here. If you want to check out, there's a particular guide on how to use this section of the website. Links out to our search for education and training programs, which I'll show you in just a minute. And then great information on these different kinds of education and training pathways, whether that's through high school or post-high school options. And then we have solid information on here too about how to pay for that education and training. Many of you probably were in sessions earlier today about financial aid, and these are great overviews that also link back to VSAC resources, which they're going to be your experts. What we aim to do here is gather together all of the resources from the experts. We're not trying to duplicate anything, but we may very well send you over to VSAC or the folks who are doing this work every day. Let me just jump back up here. So I do want to show you, we click on Find Education and Training and then search Vermont programs. This is a database of all of the different types of education and training that we have in the state. And I really like how filterable this is. So I can search here by the type of credential, whether that's a 4-year bachelor's degree, associate degree, master's certificate. I can look at in-person versus online and hybrid, different industry areas, the estimated time it takes to complete a particular degree or credential, where it's offered, the different institutions who offer this education, and then the total cost of these programs. A lot of great ways to do this search. So if we use accounting, again, as an example, let me click this program here by Northern Vermont University. This gives a quick overview of the particular program, again, how long it might take to complete. And then down below here, there's a breakdown of the cost. And it is worth noting that most people do not end up paying the sticker price for these programs. And so there is information about ways to pay for this and financial assistance. So this goes into detail about grants and scholarships and loans, and you can click on here to learn more about the difference, like what exactly is the difference between a grant, scholarship, and loan. And down below we have related careers and related industries. I do want to show you too, I mentioned here, so we've got different types of education where we've got that handy dandy flow chart that we talked about before. There's also great information here about flexible pathways. I talked before about ways to explore these different education and career options. And there's more information here on things like dual enrollment. So every Vermont high school student has the option to take 2 free college courses while they're still in high school. And that's great. I encourage people to take advantage of that option where you can go enroll for a course at CCV or Vermont Tech or the University of Vermont and see what it's really like to be a college student. And then you get free education that you can later build toward a degree or other credential. And you get to test it and see if it's something you like. Again, the worst thing that happens is you enroll in this and you figure out, wow, this is not for me. And like, what a great thing to check that off your list and figure that out while you're still in high school and not when you're committed to that major later on and you're already in college and in that. We've got good information here on finishing high school, earning GEDs, and then those education and training pathways after high school. So there's that breakdown we talked about earlier, the differences between all these. There's also additional information here if you want to explore more. Like I mentioned, for instance, registered apprenticeships in this overview. There's a link here to the list of all of the registered apprenticeships in the state of Vermont. So you can click on this and learn more about the ones that are out there and the steps to pursue those. One nice thing on this website too, for any parents and family members on this call, we have something called a Navigator Toolkit. If you are helping a student to make these decisions about education and next steps. So I encourage you to check that out. It has great framing questions, information on how to support others, tips for talking about these topics. I think it's really helpful. Go back here. And I realize I am talking and talking, so if anybody has any questions, please do feel free to just drop those in the chat or the Q&A. We have information here as well on credentials. So that breakdown information about stackability, what we were talking about before, vertical and horizontal stacking, or a hybrid option as well. You could do both horizontal and vertical. We also have information about industry recognized credentials. And those are specific credentials for different careers that are considered highly valued in a particular industry. Go back up to the top here. There's also great information on how to pay. I mentioned the distinctions between grants and scholarships and loans. This gives a quick overview, which I think is really helpful. And again, links over to VSAC where you can find a living, breathing person to help you with this. We've got information about the FAFSA, ways to make things less expensive. For people who have career experience already, there's information here on how to get credit for that prior learning. Ways to get financial assistance from your employer if you're employed at a company that offers to help pay for education and training. That's a great option there. And stackability of credentials. Back up to the top. There's also a page here, gives an overview of new financial aid for the past year. And this just highlights the free education money available to everyone. There are scholarships at adult regional technical centers. There are particular funds to support people who are re-entering the workforce after COVID. All of these free tuition options. I do want to highlight also there's free tuition at CCV for families making $50,000 a year or less. It's a great way to earn an associate degree and have no tuition costs as a part of that. There are other courses and upskilling options on here as well. The last thing I want to talk about on this site as well is this section on getting support. So we've got an overview of all of these different support options, ways to talk to a living, breathing person at VSAC or the Department of Labor, and different resources by specific population. I really like the search option that we have on here. We have a filterable search of different supports. So you can look by audience. We have information here by particular identity or experience. And so you can look for information for high school students, for people who identify as Black, Indigenous, or people of color, for people who are veterans or parents. So you can look at the specific resources here, find great information. So for instance, I just narrowed this down to all the resources for high school students, things that come up right away, internship opportunities with Vermont Businesses for Social Responsibility, education and outreach counselors at VSAC. We've got mentoring, high school completion, current tech ed, a lot of great information on here. So you can look by identity, also again by the topic of support. We divide that up into education, career, life and family, location, and delivery type. So we break these up into information for high schoolers and information for adults. And again, I do want to mention this Navigator Toolkit for people who are helping others. Does anybody have any particular career or education options that they're considering? We could use that as an example here and do some exploring on the website. Feel free to enter that in the chat if you'd like.
I do not see anything in the chat yet, Amanda, but maybe someone is typing right now.
That's all good. I'll try and keep an eye on that too. Okay. I will keep talking through this, but if anybody wants to jump in, please feel free to do so as well. I do want to just re-emphasize some of the cool tools on here. High schooler would like to know about engineering. Fantastic. Great. Thank you, Melissa. That just came through the chat. That's a great question. And so let me use that as an example here for exploring careers. Another thing I just want to mention is that this is the list of high pay, high demand jobs in the state of Vermont. And if for some reason you're looking for a career that isn't on this list, there's also a comprehensive website called My Next Move that has a ton of great information too. And we could often find that option on that website. Let me just put in engineering. So it looks like I have a few different types of engineering here. Electrical engineering, diesel, mechanical engineers, civil, technicians, industrial engineers.
Mechanical, Amanda.
Oh, great. Fantastic. Thank you. Let's do that. Yeah, so great median wage there, projected openings. There's also really good information here. If you click on the particular skill required, like mathematics, it will also show you other career paths that require that skill. So it's kind of a nice way of connecting that. So it shows you more information about bachelor's degree, and that's what's required for this particular position and where you can earn that degree in the state. So if I click on that for the University of Vermont, it gives me that overview and a quick link out to the program's website. And then more information about the cost and financial assistance available. And this has institution-specific information about loan options as well, and grant and scholarship details on here for the University of Vermont's program. So this will bring you right to UVM's page. So a great first step to explore these different options here. And for somebody who's looking into engineering, mechanical engineering, again, I think these different options for exploring a path, informational interviews and job shadows, there are a lot of engineering companies right around here. And I think people are really excited to hear about high school students who are interested in their paths. I've had a few people who have reached out to me in the past for informational interviews. And I always think of it as like asking directions in a new town. Like, I think, if somebody comes up to you and says like, hey, how do I get to the community center in XYZ town? You're usually happy to provide those instructions and know that you've been helpful. And I think people who have others do an informational interview with them feel very much the same way. They're excited to be helpful, and they're happy to know that someone else is interested in their career path and that they can help guide them and follow in their footsteps. So I would really encourage you to see what's out there too, and see if you could talk to somebody in the field. And even if you might be able to go and shadow someone for a day. Some high schools also have programs for job shadowing where you might be able to talk to your work-based learning coordinator in the high school to see if they can help you set up that opportunity too. If anybody else wants to jump in, please feel free to do so. One other thing I'll mention is that this Get Help flag in the upper right-hand corner, if you're feeling stuck and don't know where to go next, this is great next steps to talk to someone to really just get pointed in the right direction on here. So that's a great first step too. If you just jump on the website and if you're feeling overwhelmed, I would say start there, the Get Help button. Great. Well, this is pretty much what I have for our overview for MyFutureVT. If folks want to, so I think I will probably wrap up this presentation part. But if people want to ask any personal questions or want to do any demos that are specific to your interests and the things that you want to explore, I'm happy to do that too. And I'm also just going to show information here. And I'm also happy to put my contact information in the chat here. Realize I did not put on the PowerPoint, chase@advancedvermont.org. If anybody wants to contact me with questions, you're welcome to do that.